and one's a big, brawly, manly-looking guy, and he's really nasty. He's going to naturally be the bad guy. And you got another motorcycle guy in there that's not quite as big as he is. He's clean-shaven, still a motorcycle guy. He's going to be the good guy. And the crowd is going to go with the good guy as long as he doesn't go in there and throw a bunch of punches and kicks, and he shows to the people that he can wrestle.
If you would, compare training when you were doing it as to the training that is done now.
The training that I went through was like, I guess about 9 months, almost a year, before I actually got in the ring. And they would put me through the mill. They showed me how to run the ropes. They showed me how to take falls. They showed me how to give falls. They showed me a lot of different techniques, but still was not fully aware that it was a work like it is today. Today, they go in there and they'll be trained for 3 weeks, and somebody tells them they're a professional wrestler. And they don't know the first thing about wrestling.
Give me the average time that you would spend running the ropes when you came into the business.
It depends. It was more for stamina than it was for agility. You do a lot of exercises to also increase your strength, increase your stamina. You go in several different ways with these guys. Then you go into the ring and you would wrestle. And sometimes you'd get deathly sick and throw up because your adrenaline is flowing so much and you're so hyper that your insides just want to come out.
And what about bump sessions?
Basically the same thing. The bumps take you a longer time because what you want to do is you want to know how to fall, how to take that fall, how to break that fall. There's several ways. You take a fall from a tackle. You take a fall from a sunset flip. You take a fall from a backdrop. You take a fall from a slam. All of these constitute a different way to do it. And all this is going through your mind in that split second of how you're going to fall. The most times, though, you want to fall as flat as you can so that you don't get a hip pointer, bruise your shoulder, tear your rotary cuff out. There's several things that go through your mind all the time when you're taking bumps.
So it just got to where it would be second nature as to what you would have to do to what someone would put you through.
Yeah, it would become second nature to you, just like in amateur when you was wrestling. If you made somebody make a move a certain way, you could leg dive it. If you made a certain move, you can reverse a hold. You know, it's all in the way that you and your opponent approach the game of wrestling.
Going back into your amateur career, there was that one guy that you wanted to beat, or there was the guy that you wanted to beat and you did beat. Who was that guy?
I would say Gary Adams. He was from Hamburg, Pennsylvania. He was a little bit light. He was in the class just below me, but he could always beat me. And he had some powerful upper strength. And I never could understand why. Well, I got to talk to him later on in years when I was wrestling, and he told me that he was a farm boy, and he used to do a lot of farm work when he was growing up. And that's how come he got so strong. Not knowing his background didn't help. You always approach somebody with some kind of knowledge of what they can do and what they can't do.
Did you ever beat him?
No. I can honestly say I never did.
We'll be right back with our featured interview on this week's Carolina Independent Wrestling Report right after this.
Are you thinking about getting your GED diploma? Well, here at the GED Pep Talk Center, we've got a number of pep talks that can motivate you.
Sometimes things don't always turn out the way you want them to.
You know that feeling? People look at you and don't believe in you.
You want some gentle encouragement.
Then you're on your way to your GED diploma and a better life.
But I know you're probably just a little bit nervous.
You can find it in yourself to take that first step.
You can improve your future. You can do this. I know you can.
You need to start pushing yourself.
Now get your game face on and take the first step towards a better life. Hurry up. Don't make me repeat myself.
Whatever level of motivation you need to get your GED diploma, we've got a pep talk that's right for you. Call 1-877-38-YOUR-GED or visit yourged.org for your pep talk and find free GED classes in your area. GED is a registered trademark of the American Council on Education. Brought to you by Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Hickory, North Carolina. PWX kicks off 2015 at the Hickory National Guard Armory. Featuring PWX stars Caleb Conley, Country Jack, John Schuyler, Moose, and many more. Join us Saturday, January 17th at 7 p.m. for a night of pro wrestling. Tickets and more information are available at pwxprowrestling.com.
This is TJ Boss. This is Josh Steinmore. This is Brian Kanabrowski, owner and promoter of Premier Wrestling Experience, and you are listening to the CIW Report.
Now, moving ahead into your career, you have gone to all of these different locations. What was different about each territory?
Each territory, yes. Each territory is different. Or each territory was different, let's put it that way. In Tennessee, you had a bunch of local guys that were there, and the people knew what they were all about. Like Johnny Long, he was a bad guy. Les Thatcher, he was a good guy. Even the girls. You had Moolah. Moolah was always the bad girl. And then you had Donna Crisantello. She would come in, and she would be the good guy against Moolah. It's a variance of different, the way they are, their attitudes. They get the attitude, you're coming in to take my job away from me. So now you're going to go in there and you're going to produce a lot more activity. So they're working harder, and I did not understand that in the beginning. And then Les Thatcher told me that I was not smart to the business and that he needed to help me out a little bit. And he did. He did. He really did. He put me in a shower one night and taught me a lesson. That was in Tennessee. From Tennessee, I went to California. I got there unannounced. Worshires or nobody there knew of me or about me or anything like me. I called Roy Shire on the phone, and I see you, Mr. Shires, that you're having wrestling in Sacramento this weekend. I'd like to come up and show you what I have to offer. And he just cast me off like, I don't know you, I don't know anything about you. So I went up and I just sat there and I watched the wrestling, and I come back home and I had the itch. That's the only way I can put it. I had the itch. I wanted to get in there. They did a couple more, about another month or so. They come back to Sacramento again, and I went up there and I talked to them. Instead of talking to them on the telephone, I went up there and talked to them person to person. I said, at least let me show you what I have to offer. Well, he scheduled me for the following Saturday to do Sacramento TV. And I went up there and I did TV. And unbeknownst to me, I was wrestling Ray Stevens. And I did not know that Roy Shires had already informed him that he was to beat me in 2 minutes. All I knew was I was going to put him over. And I said, I got to do my best in whatever time he gives me. So I went in there and I got in the ring with Ray Stevens, and Ray Stevens went 10 minutes through with me on TV. And when I come out of the ring, Ray went down and got an interview, and Roy Shires jumped me when I come through the door and got me in a corner, chewing me up from one side down the other for not putting him over like I was supposed to. And about that time, Ray come out of the studio into the dressing area, and he jumped on Roy Shires, told Roy Shires that I was a good hand to go ahead and use me, and that it was his call in that ring, not mine. And from that point on, everything was just hunky-dory for me, because I was used everywhere for Roy Shires. He's the first person to ever send me overseas. He sent me to Korea, and I really enjoyed myself. As a wrestler, that was my first time overseas. It was in Korea.
So how was the crowd's reaction to what you guys were doing in the ring over there? Was it different than over here?
Yes, it's a completely different situation over there. In Japan and Korea, the crowd all sits on the floor. They don't sit in chairs. They all sit on the floor. And if you do something they like, they clap. And if you do something they don't like, they just moan. You learn how to get the people to react. It's a lot different.
While you were with the WWF, did you ever get any advice from the workers there?
Yeah, many times. Much more advice. After I left California, I told Roy I wanted to go home to New Jersey and try to wrestle over there. He said, well, I can help you out. So he sent me across country, having me wrestle all the way across country. I'd stopped for 1 or 2 days in Kansas City, then I went to Chicago and Milwaukee, and then I went across and I wrestled for the Sheik in Cincinnati, and then I went to New York, and I got to work in New York. And New York, to me, was the atmosphere. Again, I stress this in reverence to the people that were working in New York at the time. You had Baron Sakuna, you had Pedro Morales, you had Bruno Sammartino, you had Crazy Luke Graham. There's several of them that were up there. Gorilla Monsoon was another one that was there. They informed me that when I went in there, I wrestled like I did at the Cow Palace. And it's basically the same wrestling, but it's a different atmosphere. They do just things just a little bit different up there. And you can't put your finger on it as to what's there.
So who was the world champion then?
Bruno.
What is the best piece of advice that Bruno Sammartino gave you?
Bruno, when I wrestled him in Pittsburgh, he said to me that I had, from what he's seen, come a long way, but I still had a long way to go. But I should learn to use my mouth and learn to talk on the mic.
You being a fellow from New Jersey, you have gone across country, you have seen California, you did stints in Milwaukee, Chicago, and all of those other places. What was it like for you to talk for the first time on the microphone?
I was lost. I honestly and truly was lost. It was more or less like I'm doing now. I'm kind of lost because of being out of it for so long. You lose the vocabulary, you lose the head strength, the knowledge, the different words, different leads that you talk with. When you talk to certain people, you can talk and they lead you into something. If you have a program going on, say if you have a program going on with Bruno Sammartino, The only thing